as we like to say up north. Hiya. How you doing? You alright? That means, hello. How are you today, sir? Are you okay? No, oh, hang on, I forgot something, one sec. Sorry about that. Today we're going to be learning an absolutely killer opening riff. Can you call it a riff? It's like a whole bunch of fiddly, repetitive licks by Slash. Oh, one sec. Random story time for you. A long time ago, someone had taught me that... One sec. Sorry, I forgot. A long time ago, someone had taught me that the best cure for a hangover was another drink. Hair of the dog that bit you. That became my philosophy, because it worked. The only problem was that during that period, parties never seemed to stop, and so began a cycle. I woke up with a hangover every day, so I started every day with a fresh drink, and then drank through to the next party that night. In no time, these parties blurred. I was drinking all night until the next day, and into the next night, into the night after that. There really wasn't a day when I took time off from drinking, because there was generally a party to go to every day. It was all a part of my daily routine. We were a gang of heathens who thought we knew everything, but in reality, we knew nothing. But how to rock and roll, baby. First things first, tuning. I'm using the Polytune clip from TC Electronics, and I am tuning all of my strings down a half step. Slash is famous for using a heavier gauge of strings. I think he uses 11s, and because of that, he likes his guitar in E flat, probably for the unique sound of everything that you play, but also the string tension will be squishier when you're using heavier strings. Whilst you might have heard this lick a million times, you might not have learnt it. And I think it's well worth learning. And it's also a really useful thing to just have in the bank of licks and riffs, especially when it comes to warming up, because it uses all four fingers, alternate picking, and it is relentless, but it's very cool. The first one is index finger on the 10th fret of the B, and then you've got 13, 12, 13 on the high E. Now we're going to substitute that 10 on the B for 10 on the high E. You're going to play that twice in a row. Now all you're going to do is move the very first note up one fret. One thing we're going to be doing throughout is rocking the finger from note to note, so there's no bleed between the notes. It's going to keep things quick, nimble, and tidy. Listen to what it sounds like if I keep the fingers pressed down. It's the right notes, but it sounds horrible, so don't do that. Here's the next two. Played with the exact same technique again, but this time the notes are 12th fret of the B with the index, and then pinky and second finger going between 15 and 13. Index hopped over to the 12 on the E. Same higher notes. And now we're going to bring that index finger up 1 fret to the second finger. The only thing that changes this time is the fact that the index finger goes down to the lower note first and then the second finger up to the higher note. It's really tricky when you first learn it because it flips the technique that's been a constant on its head. It's like a spanner in the works, but again, it's adding to that challenge that's going to make you better and kind of like help warm you up as well if you're using it for that kind of purpose. Here's the next pattern. Index finger comes up to the 14th fret of the B, and then pinky on the 17 of the high E, second finger on the 15, go between those. Stretch index finger back to the 12th on the high E, and then keep the high notes the same. We're going to bring that low note up 1 fret again. This time we're going to play second finger on the 15th fret of the B. 17 with the pinky on the high E again, and this time index finger comes down to the 13 on the high E. Now we drop our index finger back a semitone to the 12th fret, but those two high notes are going to be the same, so it has to come back up a semitone again. Remember, each one of those patterns is doubled, and all the ones we're going to do next are single, so it starts to move twice as quick. Let's just run through it again slow. Now it starts to really pick up pace. You might find that your hand falls off the fretboard and you'll start turning to expensive bottles of whiskey for answers. I did. Starts with index finger on the 15th fret of the B, and then pinky and third finger 17, 18 on the high E, and you know that pattern. Now we slide that index finger down a semitone to the 14th fret, and pinky and second finger are going to be on 17 and 15 on the high E. Take your index finger down a semitone again. If you find yourself getting lost here, the index finger is just descending one semitone at a time. Okay, so 13th fret of the B, and the high notes are going to be 15 and 14 on the E. Now you can just take that index finger down to the 12th fret, keep the high notes the same. Here's the next pattern. And like I said, you're just going to slide down one more fret. So your index is now in the 11th fret of the B, and your high notes are now going to be 13 and 12. It's the exact same pattern as what you've just done, but move down one fret. So index finger now comes back to 10. High notes are the same. Now we move to the 9th fret of the B with the index finger, pinky and third finger on 12 and 11 on the high E. Now index finger drops down to the G, and the high notes are the same. Here's the next patterns. So for the most part here, we're just on the B string. So it's going to start with index finger on the 10th fret of the B, 13, 12, back and forth. Then you come back one fret, index finger on the 9, pinky and second finger now, 12 and 10. And then stretch index finger back to the 8th fret, and you can keep the second and the pinky in the same frets. Now you're going to take index finger back to the 7th fret of the G, so a string change here, and then pinky and third finger on the 10 and the 9 on the B. And to finish this little pattern, you've got these two. So you can start with index finger on the 6th fret of the B, pinky and third finger on 10 and 8. Take that index finger back to the 5th fret of the G, and then pinky and third finger on frets 8 and 7 on the B. Now at this point you want to have your pinky on the 8th fret of the B, and then 3rd, 2nd and 1st fingers chromatically laid on the B string going back to the 5th fret. Once you've pulled off to that index finger, you can hit it again just for a second. Then what I do is grab the 7th fret of the G with the 2nd finger, hit it and slide up to the 14th fret of the G, but it can be kind of like loose. Because what you're going to do is grab the 15th fret of the B and bend that up a whole step, and it's kind of slow. Can add a little bit of vibrato. Now, if you were going to carry on into the main riff from the song, as you let that bend down, you can smash your pickup selector over to the treble and then go into the riff. Now, if that Slash lesson doesn't give you something challenging yet achievable to do this weekend, then I really don't know what will. But that's not my problem. It's yours. Now, before I go, please, for the love of God, hit the like button, subscribe, and the bell button next to it. And drop a comment down below telling me how sick you are of me whittering on, reminding you about the things that you do every time anyway. But just in case I have to say it, I want to see a million comments just saying, will you shut your little tutors up? Also, just before you drop off, consider checking out my Patreon. When you sign up, I promise, you're feeling a bit tired, under the weather, I'll make you a little coffee, perk you right back up, you can get straight back into this lesson. It's the circle of life. Cost you about £5. It's an expensive coffee, but I make it worth every penny. I'll see you later.